So welcome everybody to the, what month is it? October, end of October, Vancouver Power BI and Modern Excel user group. I'm just going to go through a little bit of the intro slides, go through the agenda and some of the admin-y stuff ahead of our presentation today. Here we go. So as I say, the agenda for today, I'm just going to do welcome and a bit of an overview of the session. Then I am going to cover what's new in Power BI. And as we were saying in the intro, I got September and October to go through, which is great. So that's probably going to be about 10 or 15 minutes or so. And then I'm going to pass it over to Anne for the feature presentation today for one file to rule them all and what is a star schema, which is great. Lots of great book title, great session title. But before we get into that, special thank you to our sponsors, SkillWave, which is a division of Excel Guru, and Monkey Tools. I know we've seen Ken present on Monkey Tools a few different times over the years, and the recording of the session today will also be up on the SkillWave YouTube channel, which I'm probably getting ahead of myself, and that's probably in a later slide, but just going to call that out. For our next meetup groups, so on, I guess, 2 Thursdays from now, on November the 7th, and a slightly earlier time than usual at 2 p.m. Pacific time. Again, this Excel topic, we have writing powerful custom functions with let and lambda. So some of the newer Excel functionality to build custom functions. And then on the Power BI track, I guess about a month from now, we have Power BI performance troubleshooting. The time there is to be confirmed, so I'm sure we'll send out an update in the meetup group, and probably by the time we get to the Excel track session as well. And speaking of Monkey Tools, there's been another new release in Monkey Tools. It seems like every time I open Excel, I'm getting a prompt to have an update of Monkey Tools, which is great. So some of the new features include better license management, new DAX indenter with indentation options, indent DAX within the BiblioMonkey or the DAX sleuth with a keyboard shortcut, and the standard bug fixes. Standard bug fixes as always. Slides are going a bit wonky. Here we go. And then Ken has also put together a free using Monkey Tools course. So all of these videos have been compiled on YouTube into a free course on SkillWave training. And as always, when you register for the course, you're not just getting the course, you're getting lifetime access to all the current videos, as well as access to any new or updated videos or updates to the current videos, as well as downloadable material to go through all the example files so you can follow along and practice at home. Ken's also, well, he's on the road today. He's going to be joining us shortly, I'm sure. And his next Excel Fundamental Academy is due to kick off in a couple of weeks in the middle of November. Get to learn all the core skills for the, well, I'll insert modern Excel analyst. So formulas, functions, pivot tables, data viz, Power Query, like data transformation. And again, registration includes not just this, but full year access to 30 hours of training and coaching. You get to 46, that seems like a lot, but 46 hours of live Ask Ken sessions held during the year, and all of the Ask Ken recording archives, which I imagine is a lot more than 46 hours. And the SkillWave discussion forum access, which so you can ask questions, answer questions from like-minded individuals, and a copy of the Power Query recipes collection. And these recipes are they're very cool, and they definitely have helped me a few times going through getting stuck with some data transformation steps. So I really like these recipe collections. And outside of just Excel, Self-Service BI Academy is kicking off, I guess, just the day before, November 13th, midway through November. And you go beyond just Excel, but deep dive into Power Query and Power BI for really robust self-service BI solutions. And the registration includes pretty much everything I just covered. So I'm going to might not go over this one in as much detail, but 50 hours of training and coaching, Ask Ken sessions, discussion forum, but this one also includes a digital copy of Master Your Data with Excel and Power BI, as well as those cool Power Query recipe collections, as well as a subscription to Monkey Tools Pro. And if you are using Excel for any sort of modern analysis, yeah, definitely Monkey Tools Pro is a great tool to have. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, the recording for this session, as well as all of our previous user group sessions, are up on the SkillWave YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe, and you can see not just these user group sessions, but also other content created by Ken and Matt on Excel, Power BI, Power Query, DAX, really anything in the Microsoft BI stack. And do you or someone that you know have a topic that you'd like to share with the group? Well, get involved. We're always looking for people to speak out or speak at rather upcoming meetups, and it's great. We love hearing what you're working on, what projects you've done, any sort of cool patterns or tips and tricks in Power BI or Excel. So if you're interested, please fill out this form online, and these slides are also going to be up on this session on the user group site, so you'll be able to find the link to the form there. And with that, I am going to pass it over to myself to look at what's new in Power BI for September and October. And I'll try not to take up too long, as I am keen to listen to the feature presentation myself and pass it over to Anne. But I will get started with what's new in Power BI. So for those of you who come who have come to the meetup group before, you know that I usually do the what's new in Power BI every month. Last month, the September release came out a little bit later than usual, in the more towards the end of the month, so I didn't really have anything to present, but I get to try and do my best to cover September and October this month. So some of the highlights from September that we'll look at really throughout the rest of my demo here is we have dark mode now. Backed by popular demand, dark mode is now available in Power BI. I think Power BI is quite unique. When it came out, it was in dark mode, and then we went to bright mode and we didn't have dark mode. And now finally, however many, 4 or 5 years later, we get dark mode again. So this is really cool, and we'll see this when I jump into Power BI in just a second. From the reporting category, there's been updates to visual calculations. So visual calculations, I've covered the last few months of what's new in Power BI. There's been updates and iterations and enhancements every month. So when I jump into Power BI, we'll see some of this in action. But in September, one thing that was cool is we got data types for visual calculations. So previously in demos, if you wanted to display it in a certain way, you may recall I had to use the format function to sort of wrap things in to display it a certain way, which kind of works, but not really for all use cases. But now we actually have full control over the format of our data in visual calculations. And as well as just the data format, we can also control it with format strings, which again is sort of building on top of that. We get to define our custom format string. I looked at custom formatting for different measures at the different levels within the report a few months ago. And so this just takes that functionality and we can do it within visual calculations now. So that's great. It just brings it up to par with when we use like measures in our visuals. Now with visual calculations, we can control the formatting in pretty much exactly the same way. So when I get through in Power BI, I'll go through some of that in a little bit more detail. But I do want to jump into the October release, which came out last week. So I've had 9 days to work with this. So both the September and the October feature releases came out pretty close together, just a couple of weeks. And some of my favorite features from this month are even more updates to visual calculations, marker enhancements, and then a new list slicer preview. So those are the 3 items I'm going to be focusing on today. But as always, I can't cover everything, not all the new features. I would definitely recommend to check out the Microsoft blog of the feature summary, which comes out every month with the new update to the Power BI desktop app. And I would recommend, having a read through, seeing what's new, as I can't cover everything in 10 minutes. And one thing I like as well, if you go down right to the bottom of the page, there's none Oh, there's no comments on this one yet, but usually there's comments on the post, so you can see if there are any bugs in the release or just really other users' feedback on what's new in Power BI. So enough talking, let's jump back in. So already we can see dark mode enabled in my Power BI desktop application. Everything is dark, the ribbon. If I go to the different views, like the data view here, we have nice dark background with that green font really pops. And I find this really helps when dealing with the DAX query view as well. This can make coding, and now we have some of that IntelliSense built in as well. And the different colors, it really pops, and it can make it a little bit easier when you're building out really complicated DAX stuff. So yeah, dark mode I really like. The only thing I don't like is sometimes it's hard to see the little check marks when you're clicked on a visual, and you can see what tables in your data model measures or attributes from your dimensions, where they're coming from. That's the only thing I don't like. You can't really see it. It popped a little bit more in the light version, but I'm sure that might come out in the future as a little feature update that can make it a little bit more usable. But overall, glad we have the option to toggle between light mode and dark mode now. So with visual calculations, one of the updates from this month is that we can now do visual calculations on combo charts. And the reason why that's really useful is that we can use visual calculations as the line in our combo chart and have our regular measure as just the columns. So what I mean by that is if we look down here, if I open up the build pane, I just have date on my axis and I have total balance measures. And one thing that we may want to do is have like a moving average over time to see how this balance changes. And this is really easy with visual calculations. If I'm clicked on this visual, I can go to new visual calculation in the ribbon. And we now have a drop-down menu to pick some of the ones that are built out the box for us versus just creating a custom one ourselves. So if I do a moving average, this brings up the visual calculations pane. And so I want a moving average based on which field? Well, I only have total balance, so I can just type in total balance here. And then we have window size. So this is how many units of our axis, in this case it's months, how many months do we want our moving average to be totaled over? If I just put 1 in there and hit OK, well, we see that we have a stacked bar chart. So if I switch this chart type to a combo chart, and then I change my visual calculation to the line y-axis, there we go. So since my moving average is calculated only over 1 month, we're getting the exact same value as our balance. But if I change this to like a 4-month moving average, we can see how that line shifts now. So when we look at the average for the line for this 1 month, we're taking the average of the previous 4 bars and so on and so forth. So if I edit this, we can even do like a half year, like a 6-month rolling average as well. And we can see over time that bar will get more and more flat as we include more and more months in our moving average. But previously doing this moving average in DAX was definitely more cumbersome than just a couple clicks and editing some fields as I did then. And that combo chart makes it really easy to add a line as a little bit of a reference for our column chart. So I think that's really cool. And the other update to visual calculations is we can now use field parameters with visual calculations as well. So field parameters have been in Power BI for quite a while now, but it essentially allows us to have like select between multiple columns within the same visual. So right now I'm looking at total balance by client type, but controlled by this slicer, if I go to product category, we now see product category on the axis. If I select segment name from the slicer, we now see segment on the axis. So this is like a great feature in Power BI. It can save us canvas space. But if I wanted, as opposed to showing total balance, I wanted to show percent of total balance for each of the segments within like our segment name. I can select percent of grand total as my visual calculation. And once again, I only have one measure. in my visual. So I just want to divide total balance by the total balance of all segments. And I want to collapse this total balance along my rows. So usually we can select rows or columns. But what's nice about this is since we're just calculating total balance, and then how we calculate our the denominator in this division is by looking at total balance over rows. Since rows is a generic term and it's agnostic to the column type that we're putting into our visual, it works with a field parameter. Because I'm not specifying segment, I'm not specifying product category or client type, just the rows that are present within the visual. Now, if I update the visual to hide total balance and just look at our percent of total, we can see what the percent of total is. And if I go to data format of our percent of total, and if we look at that as a percent format, there we go. Now we can start to see what the percent of total is for these different, for whether it's client type or product category or segment name. So we're combining field parameters with visual calculations and being able to format visual calculations all within the same visual. There we go. Probably the last update I'll get into is the marker enhancement. And this is the ability to add a marker to a specific category on a line chart or an area chart. So if I click onto this line chart here, we see that we have just a line, a shaded area underneath with data labels on it. And typically, when we've added markers to this, we've shown it for all categories. So every point on that line now has a marker. And if we have multiple lines in our visual, like this one to the left, if I show this for all series, we have the ability to toggle it off on or on by whatever's in the legend, like credit card or deposit or insurance, etc. But what we can do now is when there's just one series on our line chart, we can control just for certain points where we want a marker. So maybe I want this turned off for all, but for like a year end, like we just say like a December 31st year end, I want to show a marker for this category. And I have full control of how I want that to look. What shape do I want it to be? A triangle or a square or a diamond? I have full control over the size, so I can make it much bigger to get it to really stand out, as well as the color. So we can make that like orange to stand out. So if we want just like some reference markers on our line chart for something like a year end or a quarter end or like really any reference point within the line, we can now do this just by selecting specific categories within one series, which is really cool. This is going to open up a lot of different possibilities with line charts that maybe we could do with some custom DAX functions before, but this makes it a lot easier out the box just through the interface to go in as a formatting option. That brings me pretty much to the end. The only thing I want to call out that I probably won't have time to go through a demo for is the new list slicer, which is in preview now. So we have a new type of slicer in Power BI, the new list slicer. It is in preview, so you'll have to go to options, preview features to enable it. And this is something I'm probably going to cover in more detail next month. Even in the blog, it indicates I probably don't recommend putting it in production yet, just because it's in early stages of development. But I am keeping my eye on this because the slicer visual definitely needs a little bit of love. So it looks like there's quite the roadmap of being able to have like images, icons, and a lot more formatting control over what the slicer visual looks like. So with that was my whirlwind tour of 2 months of updates in what's new in Power BI. But I'm all done now, and I'm excited to pass it back to Anne for our feature presentation on data modeling and what the heck is a star schema. So Anne, please take it away.
Okay, let's get cracking. Okay, let me just get my PowerPoint up here. Yeah. Back into Teams for a second.
Yes, Teams. Teams can.
Teams is playing.
Teams is Teams.
Teams is Teams. Absolutely. Okay, let me just see if it'll let me do it now. Oh, there we go. First of all, it won't do it. That's a great start. Okay, let me just get it up again.
All right. Oh, and Grania linked your new book in the chat as well.
Oh, thank you.
So we have all sorts. Yeah, we were talking about that just before the session. Hate Excel, which is question mark, not exclamation mark.
Question mark, not an exclamation mark.
Exactly.
All right. Okay, so this is just, would say, I want to just kind of kick this off and just kind of say, this is my kind of like one file to rule them all, etc. All right. So I want to just kind of maybe just give an overview. This is probably going to last about an hour. All right. So I just want to give you an overview of the session. Who am I? A little bit about me. Just the genesis of this presentation, where it came from. Okay. Into the whole thing. Why can't I use one file? We're going to have a demo. So I like to make things as practical as possible. So we're going to have a demo. I'm also going to be throwing in, a few questions to you all as well as we go through this. All right. Why it's important. Okay. And we're also going to see then how we're actually going to, as it were, if you have the one file, how would you get it into a star schema? Okay. Also, we want to look at a calendar, the importance of a calendar. And I'm also going to use Ken's very elegant dynamic calendar from his the recipes, which, I'm a big fan of, and, like you, often will check them out and think they're absolutely brilliant. All right. I go around recommending them to everybody. It's quite sad, really. All right. And then we're going to see, okay, when we put it all together, we got one result when we did it without the star schema. We get another result then when we put it all together. All right. So the plan is I'm going to try and maybe run it for about 50 minutes and then maybe leave about maybe 5 to 10 minutes for any Q&A at the end. So that is, okay, you should be able to see it. Somebody saying they can't see it? Just want to check you can see it. Because I've joined it. Can you see it? See this,
yeah, I can see the content. It seems like some people can, but some people cannot.
Oh, because I logged in as a participant to make sure I could. So on my participant screen, it's saying yeah. So I'm not sure what that's about. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Let's keep our fingers crossed. So we're going to do presentation and demo. Okay. The files will be available for download, and I'll tell you where you got them from. Just a little bit about me. All right. People call me the Excel lady. That's not the name that I picked. That's the name other people gave me. All right. I live in the west of Ireland, where it is raining at the moment. I have a website called excellady.com, a freelance trainer and Power BI. This is what I do at the moment. And I've also written a book called Your Excel Survival Kit. Okay. And also, let's say, Hate Excel. This is the one that I'm running at the moment. Learn to love the software that can transform your confidence and career. Because as a trainer, I meet so many people all the time who hate Excel. So basically, I decided to say, okay, look, this is for you. This is for all you people who hate it. There's no reason to. Okay. I've also been fortunate enough in the sense that it was number one in its 3 categories. And yes, I was refreshing the screen and screenshotting it when it appeared. It may not be number 1 now, but it was. All right, definitely. Okay. Married a long time. We have one son who's a software engineer. And if you'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, you'll find me under the Excel lady, or else. Oh yeah, great. I can see it's working now for you. Brilliant. Okay. As the Excel lady, or else just look for me under my name. I will go on to it. All right. Okay. Also, I do my Power BI stuff as well. All right. So where this presentation came from, all right, was, and if anybody recognizes those 2 fine gentlemen, please feel free to put into the chat, is, I remember I often teach like dashboard in a day. And as I say to people, I don't do it in a day. Yep, there you go. Somebody has it. Brilliant. All right. Do dashboard in a day. But as I say, I don't do it in a day. I normally do it over 5 sessions because I think doing it in a day is kind of mental cruelty. All right. So I remember more than once somebody would say to me, well, I just have one file. Why can't I just throw that into, my, why can't I just throw that into my, Power BI there, yeah. Okay, so just leave that one for a second. And the thing about it is, all right, and what I want to do is just put something into the chat here now, because the, let me just see now how I got the chat here. Yeah, all right. And I want to just put in the chat here, okay, I want you to go to, let me just see it now here. There, a minute ago. Of course, I had on another one. Okay, all right. Okay, can you just go to one called, can you go to a file called menti.com, all right? And this is the code I want you to put in, okay? 48. Okay, so when you get there, and I want to just give you a couple of minutes, and then I'm just going to present here on this one, all right? Because I just want to kind of, I'd say probably a lot of you know what a data model is, you know what a star schema is, and just, you might just say, okay, what happens if you just try that? So let me just kind of present this here now. All right, and let me just share this one. All right, so hopefully you should be actually, just go to this one. Pop it in, let me just leave now, stop sharing for a second. Okay, so it should be actually coming up with, you should be able to go to that one and it come up with a word cloud. There we go. All right, and let me just share my screen here again. I was thinking for 1 minute, oh my God, it's not going to work. There we go. All right. Yep, brilliant, you have it. Okay, so I see there, it's giving you some of the reasons why would you kind of, you got things like Word, I love this one, Excel Monkey, Power Tools, Power Query, Power Pivot. All right. The second. Okay, so I'm just going to stop sharing that now. Just go back to my. Okay, now my teams seem to have disappeared completely, which I don't know where they're gone to. Lovely. Okay, the thing is though, is that if you go with the one file solution, all right, you're going to end up with something like this. Okay, so basically a one file solution will it'll get you going a certain amount of the time. Okay, but the problem is that, if you decide that you want to add something to it later, if you want to add plumbing to it, add electricity, basically build on it, you're going to run into a challenge with it. Right? So what we're going to look at now is we're actually going to look at some data. Okay. All right, the data source that I'm going to use. Okay, and let me just get it here now. All right. So the data source that I'm going to use, you see it here. it's like a one file, all right? And you can kind of see, let's say it's got about 30,000 rows in it. And what we're going to do is, it would actually probably need to be, you see there that it's kind of things like repeating data like store location, product category, day of the week, even ones there like Spearland, so on. We need to do something with that. So let's see what happens if we actually pull this over into Power BI. All right, just as it is. Okay, now just to say to you, I haven't updated my Power BI, my bad, so on. So I haven't activated dark mode yet, but let's go with it here. Okay, so I'm starting with a blank one. I come up here to my get data, and then I could just go down to my text CSV. There's my file there. All right, now at this point, what I'm going to do is I have a choice of loading or transforming. Okay, now if I want to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to load it, but if you want to do some kind of cleansing on it or tidying up on it, which I'm sure you all kind of know, I would just go to transform. All right, there you go, lovely. So I'm just going to go to load here on this one. And it's just loaded in straight away. Here we have it over here on this one. All right, so what I want to do is create maybe 2 charts and also just do a matrix with a kind of a year-on-year change. Okay, so let me just do my little chart here, nothing too fancy. Let's say I want to do it by product category. Just tick for product category. Okay, now I just want to stop sharing for a second. Of course, what happened there was that I was actually working on this earlier today. I think I must have opened up that one. All right, let me start again. When a plan doesn't come together. There we go. Okay, so let me just go to get data. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to load it in. And I should just end up with one table on the right-hand side. Okay, there we go. You see over here? So one table over here on this one. I'm just going to add 2 charts. So let me just click this one. All right, and so far what I'm going to do is just going to throw in my sales revenue. Just going to tick the box for sales revenue, and let's say for store location. Okay, so again, nothing fancy there. And then I just do the same thing over here then for this one. Choose my stack column chart. And I'll just change that now, let's say to a. And this one I'm just going to do for product category. And just for sales revenue. Okay, so far so good. All right, so we're looking at saying, I haven't done anything with it and it's fine. Okay, so let's say now what I want to do is I want to add another thing to it. I want to add maybe, let's say, to get the total sales revenue. And I also want to show the change from one year to the next, which is a fairly standard thing. So far, one file model's working fine. So let me come over here, just add in my matrix. All right, and I'm just going to bring it down here. Give myself a bit of space. Okay, all right, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to add it maybe by product category, my rows, and I'm going to add in, let's say, my sales revenue. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create 3 measures. So I just come up here to my new measure. And the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to create total sales. And just come here to this one, nothing fancy again, sum. Just add in my total sales revenue. Close my brackets, press enter. Okay, Again, nothing fancy there. Then I want to create a second one. Okay, and this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my previous year sales. Whoops. Okay. Okay. And I'm just going to use my calculate with that one. All right. Just call up my other one, total sales, comma, and then do same period last year. All right. Okay. And then just close that off. Okay. Same period last year. All right. And what I'm going to do for this one is that I need to reference a date. So I'm just going to go over to the date one I have over here. Okay. Now, when I bring in a date, let's say just on a regular table, and again, I'm sure you know this, go to this one, click on the little beside it. I'm just going to go to the little date hierarchy, and I'm just going to choose the year from there. Okay. So I'm just going to go to retail sales, and I'm just going to choose the date. Okay. I'm just going to close that off. All right. So again, that's that one done. And then I just do the last one then. I'm just going to do my new measure. I just might do my year-on-year change. Okay. So these are all change. Okay. So for this one, it's going to be, and again, just my divide. Say my total sales revenue, total sales minus my previous year sales, then divided by my previous year, and then close the bracket. Okay, and just do it as a percentage. Okay, so three fairly standard measures, you know, that nothing too fancy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to add them on to my matrix. Okay, so just add on my total sales into my values. Okay, so far so good. I'm going to put my year, because I want to see the change, into my columns. See it there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in, let's say, my previous year sales into my values again. Okay, and so far so good, nothing's happening there. And then the year-on-year change. So nothing is happening with that either. All right. So this is where, like, if you don't have a data model or you don't have a calendar, this is where you start to run into these kind of difficulties. So, you know, at this point, and I just want to remove the extra column headings I have here. I don't need them. Column subtotals and row subtotals, just have the headings. So at the moment, what I can say is that because I don't have my data model set up correctly, okay, I start to run into these kind of difficulties. Okay. So what I want to do next is, let's say, look at, I'm just going to stop the sharing for a second. Right. Is I just want to look at here, let's say, is a little bit about, let's say, we're going to now kind of build a star schema. And basically what this is that we're going to, let me just run it from here now. There we go. Yeah, everything in one pot, exactly, yeah. Like, and one pot recipes have their place, as we all know, but then there comes a time when you want to add something to it. Okay, so let me just all right, so let's say that basically the star schema is so important because it's, if you like, it's basically the difference between a shack and a building. That's the way I will describe it. Okay, so if you have a shack has its place. Okay, you know, quite often when you're starting off. But if you want to kind of be able to do things, you know, like add your, you know, build on it and so on, you need to kind of start bringing in the star schema. All right, and it's also a thing that you want to look at kind of avoiding duplication. And it gives you more robust structure, and you can also build your formulas into it as well. So what we're going to do next is, and this is this one here, analogy I'm going to use here. I don't know if any of you have ever come across a chocolate fountain or a champagne fountain where, you know, the champagne is poured in at the top and then it all flows into the various different glasses. Well, basically, that's what we're going to do now with the same data set. We're going to get it to actually go into, let's say, different glasses, etc. Okay. Right. So let me just. Okay. All right. So I'm going to open up. All right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it, Aurora. Spot on. Yeah, you kind of have one to do it. So what we want to do here is we're now going to use a reference technique, basically to separate out the data. So I'm just going to go back into the data again. Okay, and just let's say share. Okay, so in our data set here, okay, we're going to do a bit of transformation on it. So for example, I'm going to remove that store ID. I'm going to leave the ID. We're going to work on the dates later on with Ken's recipe. But these ones here, for example, store location and the furniture, right? We want to basically put those into tables. Okay, we're not going to put the days of the week into a table because we're going to use the calendar for that, and we're going to put the holiday effect into it. And then we're going to end up, we'll see, with our star schema then on this. Okay, so I'm just going to go back into Power BI and just start a brand new one. So I'll just share my screen again. Okay, all right, so come up to get data again. I'm going to do the same one again. Retail sales, and then click open. All right, so this time what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go into my transform data down here. Okay, all right, so here we are, we're actually in Power Query. No, the one to us all. So we come over here to this one. I'm going to remove store ID. I don't need it, so just right click and remove. I then come up, what I want to do then is I want to kind of now come over here and make a separate table of store location. So I do a right click and I do reference, and I'm just going to rename this to store location. And then I just remove all the other ones, and then I just remove duplicates. Okay, so now we have that's going to do in a separate table. Come back to retail sales again. Right click, reference, right. And this time again, I'm going to use it for product category. So just rename that to product category. Same steps again, just right click product category, remove other columns, and then just remove duplicates. Okay, let me just remove duplicates now again. Doing something strange here, so it is. Retail sales, go back to my product category. There we go, remove duplicates. Okay, so we have this one, and we're going to do one more. And again, just right click, reference. And I'm going to call this one, I'm just going to use for the last one there, which is holiday effect, which is basically a true false one. Again, just remove other columns and just do it, remove duplicates. Okay. So now what we've done, taken the same data and just basically pulled it all together. And then I just need to go to close and apply. I suppose that, like, to me, I know when this person was asking me, it did actually make me think, okay, why wouldn't you? And I suppose the reason is that, like, the idea is that when you build a proper model, and I'm sure most of you know this already, when most of you build a proper model, it's like you're building a house with plans, foundation, and the whole lot. Okay, so then I come over here then to this one, just over to my data model. All right, you see there, it's already kind of linked up. And that's what we're always looking for. We're looking for the automatic links. And this one, it hasn't. Okay, so I'm just going to go to my link up my holiday effect. And we have the one-to-many relationship, which is the one that we always want. All right, you know, that we have the what I call the one-to-one. The one-to-many is the one we mostly want. And then, as a friend of mine, Sue Bays, once said, many-to-many, just messy. Yeah, you want to kind of steer away from that one. Okay. Now, we need to do one other piece as well. So we need to come back into our report view. And this is where we need to build our calendar. Okay, and this is where I'm going to use kind of Ken Puls recipe, all right, which I think is absolutely brilliant. And it's one that I'm kind of always recommending to people when they come up with this one. So for this one, all right, and what I'll do is I will see, do we have the link here? Yeah, I do. Okay, so this is the recipe. It's in this bunch of recipes. We'll just call it up here now. There we go. Like if you don't have them, here's a link to the recipes. Here, let me pop it into the chat. I always use, I tend to use Zoom a lot more than Teams, so, but that's a link to the recipes that we're going to be using. Okay. All right. So what we do for this one is we come back into our, this view again, go to my transform data, just go to my transform data again. And we just have one set of dates in this one, okay? If you had more than one set of dates, you'd see which was the earliest and which is the latest, but this one has one set of dates. So what we're going to do is begin by creating two queries. So I come back here to retail sales, and I just do a reference. Okay, and I'm just going to call this start date. Okay, and then what I do is I come here to my date, just remove other columns. Move other columns, and then I look for the earliest in this one. So just go to this one, filter, date filter, filter for the earliest, find the earliest one in it, and then I just remove duplicates. And then what I want to do is get this to force it to the start of the year. So I just come up here to transform, and I go to date, and I just go to year. There we go. And I just go to, let's say, see there it says start of the year. Okay. Because we want to actually get the start of the year, and then I just do a right click on this, and I just do the drill down. Okay, so that's my first one ready to go. I come back up to retail sales again. So I'm kind of creating the two pillars that's going to form my calendar. Sales here, and again, I just do reference, and I'm going to call this end date. Okay, and I just remove the calendars again, remove the other columns. All right, and then I just use this filter again up here, go to date filters, and I force it to the latest one. Okay, and then what I do is I do my remove duplicates, and then I come up to transform, and I just go to date, and I go to year, and see there I go to end of year. Okay, and I've got my end date done, and then I just need to do a drill down on that as well. Okay, so I have the two pillars ready. I'm now going to bin the calendar from this again. Okay, you can do exactly that as well. Spot on. Yeah. All right. Just that there's a kind of just for that one though, you could change the filter step and do it as well. I suppose though, Scott, one of the things I'm always thinking of though is because a lot of the people I work with are kind of not, you know, they're most of them are quite new to Power BI, so I end up kind of doing a lot of things kind of several times, so they get a good handle on it. Okay. Now I just go back here to home, and then I just go to, let's say, new source. All right, and then I'm just going to go to blank query. Okay, and for this one here, all right, for this one here, I'm just going to use my number from. Okay, so just open my curly brackets and type in number from, do my round brackets, and then I just type in start date. There we go, in the list. And then I put in 2 dots, yeah. Put in 2, just jump between the 2 of them. And then I do from, dot number again. Number from. Just around your brackets, and then I just put in the end date. It pops up there automatically. And then I just do this one. Nope. Oh yeah, I've got to close it off with my roundy brackets. End date. Yeah, okay. End date. Ah, I think there's one there at the beginning, wherever that came from. All right, that one there. And then I just go to table. Okay, click OK. And then I just need to change that to date. Change to date then. I'm going to call this date. And then I'll just rename that to my calendar table. Okay, so now my calendar table is ready to go. Now what I can do at this point is I can go back here and I can go transform to this one, go to date, and I can kind of expand this. Okay, so you might remember in our original data source, so let's say I'm going to add in a year. Oops, let me undo that again. Because what I should have done, of course, is do add column, and then do date, year, add on my year, back to my date again, just gone to month, let's say the name of the month, and then gone to date again. For example, I could just put in the day as well there if I wanted to, the name of the day. Okay, so instead of me having in the original data was originally, it's just easier just to put it in with the calendar. Okay. Okay, and then I can basically expand that as I require. I might just kind of maybe add the months to that as well. Month. I might just add the name of the month as well. Okay, now when I've done that then, I just come back to my home. I'm just going to go close and apply. Okay. Second. Now, just want to stop the sharing for a second. Okay, all right. Okay, so what I want to do now is just say we're going to look at the same data. Okay, just look at the same data. So let me just share it here again. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of, as it were, create this one here. Yeah. All right. So this one here, let's say I'm just going to add in my charts again. But see now, I now have all the tables over here that I can kind of add to it as required. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a little, the matrix here again. And I'm just going to add in my product category. To this one. And from my calendar, I'm just going to pull in my year. Okay. All right. Now, at this point, you can see there it says cannot determine relationship between fields. Okay. So this means that what has happened here is that I have forgotten to go over here to my data model and create the relationship. Okay. So there's my end date, all that over there. We don't need it. So I'm just going to park that there. And one thing I always say to kind of people in training with beginners is I always say, look, if you kind of get things like that, or you end up with all the numbers being the same, it's a relationship issue. So then I come back to this one and I'm just going to link up the two dates. Now, quite often Power BI, as I'm sure you know, will put them up automatically. Okay, so it's linking up the two dates and I just click on save. And when I come back into it then, right, there we have it. Got my years and the whole lot. Okay, just drag it down again. Right. So let me just get my revenue, total revenue, which I had here. So again, just do the new measure again. And I'm just going to say total sales. Okay, and again, it's just going to be like my sum. Okay, and just do for this one then, I just want to go to the retail sales again and just use my sales revenue and then just close this. That's my first one done. And then I just do the same steps again, new measure. Now, obviously, what I probably have is that, I'd have these somewhere and just copy and paste them in. But for the purposes of what I'm doing today, just repeating the steps so you can see the difference. Measure, and it's going to be, let's say, previous year sales. Okay, so again, I'm just going to use my calculate function. And I'm just going to use my call up there, total sales, comma, same period last year. And this time I just choose my calendar and just choose my date. And use that one. That one done. And then I just do the last one then. My year and year change. Okay, lovely. Again, it's just going to be the same one again, divide. Okay, it's just going to be my total sales. Sales minus previous year sales, comma, divided by sales. And then just format that as a percentage. Okay, so now let's see what happens now that I've got it kind of properly set up in the whole lot. Let's see what happens now when I add those into it. Okay, so I can just come over here. Now, I've kind of made a mistake here. I've inadvertently put these into the wrong, put the year on year change, I put those into the wrong table. I was clicking on this one. So I'm just going to go back to, let's say, over to this side, just change it to my retail sales. That one there. Move my previous year sales into my retail sales, and then just move the total sales, just so they're all kind of together, nice and tidy, to my retail sales as well. Okay, and now what I'm going to do, just let's say add in my total sales in here, and let's say my previous year sales. Okay, and then the change. All right, I can see there, I can change the previous year sales. I might just change the percentage there and just change it to a percentage. Okay, we get a much better one. Now, the other one that I'm just going to wrap off here. Just don't need those column subtotals or row subtotals there as well. Right. So you can see there, there's no kind of, for 2022, there's no previous year for it or previous year change that's there, but you can see there in the change is this in this one. Okay. All right. Now, so I just want to see, has anybody got anything they want to add to that? Finishing up a little bit earlier than I planned, but that's okay. Does anybody want to add anything to that or add any commentary to it? Like the main object of the exercise was basically just to get you thinking about the, it's because, like I said, a lot of people will say, why can't you add a sail into it? Why can't you just add a single file? And I hope this will give some illustration as to maybe why a model is important and the work you put into the model saves you work down the road, all right, as required. Okay. All right. Yep. Stop the share for a second. All right. Now, let me just see.
Oh, well, that was
okay.
That was good. Thank you. Oh, sorry.
There we go. Yeah. Good stuff.
There we go. Cutting you off. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you, Anne. That was great. It was great. Yeah, incorporating the one of those Power Query recipes as well that we called out in the beginning. So we really came full circle.
Absolutely. Yeah. I like probably a lot of the users here are probably like, kind of fairly hardcore, but I always think there's a lot of people and they kind of think, well, why would I? Or, why is it important? Or why do I need to? And I think that's an important one to mention as well. All right. Now, great stuff.
Yeah.
Just absolutely. One other great stuff. Now, just one other thing then I just want to, a little Mentimeter thing that I want to throw in here. Okay, lovely. Okay, so what I'm going to do again is I just put the Menti thing into the chat. All right. Okay. Just there we go, menti.com. And I'll just give you the number as well. There we go. And then I will just share that with you. Okay, so let me just share that now a second. As they start coming in, hopefully. Just give it a few minutes. There you go. Lovely. Think dimensionally, spot on. Yeah, exactly. Really important. And it's a different way of thinking from Excel. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's quite different from Excel that way. Yeah, spot on. Lay foundations. Fantastic. Yeah, lay foundations. Spot on. Yeah. Another couple of minutes. Yeah, calendar table. Yeah. You don't have to read my book. That's for Excel who are very reluctant Excel people. Yeah.
But let's be honest, Anne, people should read your book because your book is great.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Thank you. Especially for all those people who hate it. Thank you for your kind review. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, listen, for anybody, just for fun, I mean, it is a great book. It's a lot of fun to read. It's a very, very light story, but it is. I'd be laughing all the way through it. I thought it was a great book. And I'm sorry I couldn't be here at the beginning of the show. It's been a crazy day of travel up from the U.S. and we were clearing the border right as you guys were getting started and whatever else. But,
fine, no
but I did want to pop in and say hello and say thank you so much for doing this. I did manage to watch most of the presentation. I got here just as you were starting, but so great stuff. And I 100% agree with you. Star Schema is like super, super important thing here. And I wish I could convince people when they're starting one of these models not to just start with a bucket of everything. Take the time because it's about laying your foundations in concrete instead of sticks, right? I mean, it just gives you so much flexibility in the future. So nice job. Well done.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, lovely. I'll just give people another minute or so, not less than that, just to do that one. And you can see there, lay the foundations, etc. All right. All right, so I'm just going to leave that there then. Yeah, lovely. PQ, it's powerful, super powerful. Totally. Good stuff. All right. Fact tables, absolutely. Just give another few comments there. Okay, yeah, lovely. All right. Okay, so I just want to say thank you so much for your time, and I hope at least some of you, yeah, I suppose the file size and the efficiency benefits of using Star Schema, yeah, it would be, you know, people often kind of bring in really large files on it, and you know, I think when it's a smaller file, you don't really see it. But I think like once you get to Star Schema, where you're only dealing with kind of like single tables, as to the actual, you know, percentages, I'm not sure I could speak to those, but yeah, it makes a big difference, makes a huge difference. All right. Anybody else get any other questions? Something they want to add to that? Upfront work. Yeah, I'll just share this again. Just a few of the comments added. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, fact tables, multiple tables from it. That one. All right, lovely. Okay, you're very welcome, Peggy. No problem. And again, if you want to, any of you want to connect me on LinkedIn, you'll find me under my name or under the Excel lady. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. But I think sometimes people don't understand that. Yeah, see that, Ken? Yeah, thank you for that. Okay, Joseph,
Okay.
you want to wrap it up a little bit early?
Yeah,
so people will cope with admirable fortitude. Yeah.
No, it's been great. I mean, I think all the comments that I've seen in the chat are positive, and thank you for a great session. So I guess behalf on Ken on the Move and myself, thank you for coming. Thank you for the presentation, and thank you for everyone coming today.
Okay. All right. Have a lovely day. Mind yourselves. All right.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
All right. Have a good one. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.